Oh, fuck. Dude, I don't know what's fucking up with Coolerbot. He has gone crazy.
Yeah, man. He can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear.
And it absolutely will not stop ever until we are quenched.
Hasta la vista, thirst.
Come with me if you want to leave.
Shouldn't have given you a line, an opportunity to do an accent.
Well, that's how he says it.
Well, that's not how Kyle Reese says it in the first movie.
It's fine.
I was talking about the second one.
That's not how Summer Glau says it in the TV series. Welcome to Crew Expendable. I am Shaka Zulu 0-2396001 Hellbender Hallstrom.
I am Agent of True Human Evil Rohrbacher.
And I'm the crab face on the typhoon, Bob.
And damn it, it Word Alien Podcast.
Good work.
That one did make me pause when I read it too.
God, that's it. We're an alien podcast.
We sure are.
Elephant in the room. Bob, welcome back. And sorry that this is the second time we've taken an extended hiatus in the middle of a series we were doing with you.
It's okay. I know I'm very difficult to deal with, and we just sometimes you gotta just need some space afterwards.
It's nothing personal. It's not about you. Shit just happens that way. Like, it's not your fault that I had medicine complications and double hurricanes to deal with.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I've had a string of bad luck. I think the listening audience is aware of this because by now I should have put out this long coming update on the podcast feed, so we won't get into it now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, I had a crummy run for a while here, but hey, we're back, right?
We are. We sure the fuck are.
Yeah. So this is the first we've had episodes coming out, but this is the first one we've done recorded post hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a little rough, maybe trying to get back in the swing of things.
For sure.
Because I don't know how to do podcasts anymore.
Yeah, I have completely forgotten. All those muscles are gone.
But Bob, you do a podcast.
I've been training.
Yeah.
In the off season, I got my own. We go on down to the training camp, aka the Flock Podcast, and we talk about video games and whatnot. It's a novel concept. I don't think it's been done before in the podcasting world, but we're treading new territory.
So you're going to need to shepherd us through this.
I will. So we start off with about an hour and a half of unintelligible banter about something that we've been doing. It's hyper local and usually about a vegan restaurant.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Now we're no strangers of talking about things that aren't important to the podcast for at least half an hour before we get into the topic.
Yeah.
So, you guys see Red One?
I have not seen it. No.
Boy, that looks good, right?
Early. Did you see it?
No.
I was going to say. I watched Trap.
Fuck no, I didn't see Red One.
But Bob, you just said you watched Trap last night. What did you think of, the movie in general, but specifically, what did you think of whatever Josh Hartnett was doing in that movie?
I absolutely loved it, I think.
See, the thing of it is I also fucking loved it. I think Trap is great. I love that movie so much.
All right, I'm gonna have to see this. I know all about it. I'm not this is M. Night Shyamalan, right?
Yeah.
Everyone says that. Like, I've heard enough good things about this movie that I'm gonna have to watch this.
It's okay. The good things I have to say about it are not what you're expecting.
Sure. Okay.
But it is an interesting just kind of study of what a movie can be in 2024.
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
All right.
It is so extremely bizarre.
Okay.
And
it sure is.
if you had told me that like M. Night found a like middle schooler and asked them to write a screenplay and he didn't edit it at all and just made that into a movie with a budget.
All right.
See, the thing that struck me while I was watching it was that, like, okay, picture like the movie itself, like the world that the movie takes place in, where these people exist and these events are happening. The way I took the movie was that it was not us watching these events happen in the world of the movie. It was, we are watching a film adaptation of events that happened in the world that the movie takes place in.
Yeah.
I'm not okay.
Because there are moments in the movie that feel cinematic in the sense of it's not something that would happen in real life. It's something that would happen in a movie. And so because they happen in the world of the movie, it feels like you're watching a film of these events rather than watching a film that is like a filmic version of like these events happening rather than it being the actual events that is for us a film. Like there is a moment where after they get to the concert and Josh Hartnett is standing there because they have pretty good seats. They're like down on the floor, like, you know, several rows back from the stage, but he's down. They're not like down or they're not like up in the stadium seating. They're down like on the flat part of the floor right in front of the stage.
Sure. In the pit.
And there is a part where Josh Hartnett is standing there and like they got there early. So there's maybe like 20% of the stadium is filled and he's standing there in front of his seat, looking around up at all of the stadium seating. And there is a scene that's like a minute and a half long of him glancing over and glaring at a set of security guards walking through the seats. And then he looks over at another section of the stadium seating and he glares at another set of security guards. And he does this like 4 times in a row. And the scene's like a minute and a half long. And there's nobody in the stadium by where he is except for his daughter. And Josh Hartnett's like 6'3" or something like that. So he sticks out like a sore thumb and he is very clearly and obviously glaring at all of the cops in the room. And nobody ever notices or sees it or points it out or calls any attention to it. And so my brain went, oh, in the world of the movie where these events actually happen for real, he didn't do that. That is something that the film version of these events added to like give extra drama to the scene. So what we're watching is not the telling of the real events in the world of the movie. We're watching a film version of real events that happened, you know?
I understand.
I had a friend describe it as it's like a Hitman level turned into a movie.
That is precisely what it is. Yes.
Okay.
Where it's like he's got to get backstage and he talks to one of the workers and they're like, yeah, nobody can go backstage unless they know the secret password. By the way, the secret password is blank.
Or like there's another scene that I keep rolling around in my head every time I think of it. During the cameo that M. Night has in the movie, because he always gives himself a cameo.
Yeah, because he's, the modern day Hitchcock.
That's correct. He's Lady Raven's uncle. And when Josh Hartnett goes up to talk to him, he's just like a member of just like the stage crew or whatever. And he's talking, Josh Hartnett's talking to M. Night. And we go, and he says something to the effect of, "Oh, do you know Lady Raven?" And then M. Night goes, "Oh yeah, I'm her uncle, her mom's brother."
Also, it is very much a vanity vehicle for Salika,
It sure
who is his daughter. So every time there's like a cut to the concert where she is performing a song, it is like a majority of the song.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually her doing all of the singing and all of the dancing, and she wrote the music that she performs for the movie.
Yeah.
And also, this is mild spoilers, but she is a lot more major of a character in the movie than you think she is. She is not simply the artist they are going to see. She's actually in the movie.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's worth a watch. It's just a bizarre experience.
Yeah, it is a insane movie, and I was hooting and hollering the whole time. It is not realistic at all, and anyone who doesn't like M. Night movies because of like the way he directs or like his style of movie, this is even more of that. So if you don't like his other stuff, this won't change your mind. But I'm not an M. Night hater and have liked several of his movies, and I had a great fucking time with Trap.
Okay. Historically, I have liked approximately 0 of his movies. So
this will not change your mind.
Okay. I might check it out anyway. I don't know, man. There's a lot of better stuff out there that I haven't seen yet. So this ain't exactly going to the top of the list.
I mean, same thing for me, but I watched it anyway because it looked like fun, and then I had fun. So
I do like Josh Hartnett. It would be nice to see him like doing stuff again.
He sure does. He does a lot of stuff in this movie.
Yeah,
he does a lot of capital A acting choices. That's for sure.
I expect nothing less from my man.
He might as well be in a different movie for most of the time too. He's really doing some acting.
Also correct. He makes a lot of insane choices, I guess you could say.
Now you're selling me on it. Okay.
Yeah, he is absolutely a fucking trip in this movie. It's great.
All right, I'm into it. But hey, that's not what we're here to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're here to talk about, I forget, it's issues 3 and 4 of Aliens versus Predator versus the Terminator.
That is correct.
AVPVTT.
Right.
Yep.
We did do issues 1 and 2 before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We probably could have done this in one, couldn't we?
I'm not sure, because there's a lot more plot in this comic than you'd think there would be.
Okay. Agree to disagree.
Well, there's a lot of plot in it, but there is a point in probably the 4th issue where they go, oh yeah, we have to end this in this issue. Let's just rapid fire through all of our plot points real quick.
Yep. That's correct.
They do kind of rush it. Let's dive into this thing. Credits up top before I forget. This entire series was written by Mark Schultz with pencils by Mel Ruby, inks by Christopher Ivey, colors by David Stewart, and letters by Pat Brosu, with covers by Dwayne Turner and David Stewart.
The covers are so good.
The covers are the best part of this series. The covers are sick. Did we talk about the covers on part 1 of issues 1 and 2?
I know for a fact we talked about the cover of issue 1 because I went through my notes and I specifically talked about it. I don't recall if we talked about the cover of 2 or not.
Let's recap the covers of issues 1 and 2 and maybe recap issues 1 and 2 real quick, if you got that ready, Kenny.
I do.
Okay. So issue 1 has a Terminator, like a classic, endoskeleton.
Mm-hmm.
Back to back with a xenomorph with a predator in front of them, and they're all kind of mugging at the reader, and they all look sick as hell.
Yeah, it's not really anything like fancy. They're not super dynamic as far as like the poses and the actions they're doing. It's just a very cool, interesting drawing that they look very good in,
Yeah, they just all look like they should, and they look good. And if I saw that on a shelf at a comic book store, I would have grabbed it immediately. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The cover for issue 2 has a predator fighting our hybrid Terminator xenomorph crossover with what look like face huggers kind of crawling around. And they're like fighting in like a liquid, like a chemical tank broke and is flooding the place.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's cool looking. But I don't like this hybrid alien Terminator thing. So I'm less excited about it.
That's fair.
This is a very dynamic cover, and it shows them in battle. And it does kind of look like just a Terminator with his skin getting ripped off and everything. But because I know what it actually is, I'm less excited about it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's issues 1 and 2. Kenny, do you got a recap ready for us?
I do.
Bob, do you want to try to recap it from memory instead of having Kenny read it, and then he can correct
1 and 2?
I will say that I did reread issues 1 and 2 and wrote down all of the major points, but I am kind of interested, Bob, in seeing what you can remember from the first 2 issues.
I also reread issues 1 and 2 today.
I did not, but I will.
Which is why we chose you to do this.
Yeah, this might be fun.
So we open with Call and the crew on board a ship that looks like Mr. Cheeto's head.
Kind of, not really.
That's wrong, but continue.
Oh, the Predator ship looks like Mr. Cheeto.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. They're on the orb ship.
Yeah, there's an orb, I think.
Okay, they have an orb ship, but it does not start off with them on it.
All right, so they are going to the damn naval ship for some reason. No. They find Ripley. Ripley 8.
Yeah, they find Ripley 8 first.
They're down in the slums underneath the city to look for Ripley, and they find.
And she's cosplaying an unhoused person.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
They find her, and they're like, "We gotta go do some shit on in space." You remember our old times that we had together? It was crazy back then. So they go up and they go to the ship, and as they're going to the Navy ship, I keep wanting to call it the Navy ship because that's what they call it in the comic. They call it like a naval. At one point, they called it the Naval Fleet.
It's the Typhoon, I think, is where they're going.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. They go there. Dr. Langafoida?
Langafoida is the xenomorph.
Yeah, that is the made up Latin name for the xenomorph.
I thought that was the doctor's name.
No, it's not.
Fuck. Okay, so the
name isn't that important because he dies in the first issue.
Correct.
What was his name though?
Trollenberg.
That's right. Because they were calling it Trollenberg's monster.
Yeah, he's the big, huge guy that looks like Hugo Strange from Batman.
Yeah.
So the Terminator / alien variant starts flipping out and smashing everything up, and the Predator is like, "Who's this MF? I gotta go stop him." Yeah. Or something. He shows up in the Chester Cheeto ship.
He does. Yes, that's correct.
They get into it, and wouldn't you know it, all hell breaks loose, and the Predators abduct Ripley 8.
Yeah, basically, honestly.
Yeah.
There's a big exposition dump where Call hacks into the mainframe and figures out that the Connor, what's his name? John Connor virus is implanted inside of the Terminator robot's operating system to keep Skynet from happening again, which that is the loosest plot thread of the entire series.
Yeah,
it sure is.
I kind of figured that John Connor virus is fucking stupid, but I figured out the Skynet plan reading it a second time.
Oh, okay. Well, fill me in, please, because I was still confused about it.
Okay, so again, the John Connor virus thing is dumb.
For the record, I didn't have a problem with it, but continue.
I remember having a problem with it and maybe not fully understanding it, and I still don't think it makes the most sense, but I understand it now. Basically, we are in a future where Skynet was stopped in the past and Judgment Day was stopped, but Skynet had, knowing it was going to be defeated, put into motion a plan to create these Terminators, which Dr. Trollenberg was one of, who would just live among society for generations at a time until technology became available that could kind of ensure Skynet's success.
Yeah, right. They were called crypto Terminators, or as we were referring to them in the last episode, the Bitcoin Terminators. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Yes. The Doge Minators.
I believe that was called the Skynet Resurrection Project, was what like the blanket name that Skynet gave the creation of the crypto terms, if I recall.
Yes, the Skynet Resurrection Program.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why no one had heard of Skynet or, why we're in a future without it, or why no one has heard of it is because it was essentially stopped in the past, kind of before Skynet was able to get going, I guess. And the Resistance wasn't able to stop these crypto Terminators from getting created, but they were able to implant this memory or this virus into their minds so that if anybody accessed their technology, they would get this exposition dump, which is really dumb. Like, why would anyone access their brains, right?
Right.
But yeah, that was just for the readers. But I don't know. I think I had a problem with it last time. I'm kind of okay with the Skynet plan this time, if I wasn't before. I'm not okay with how the rest of it unfolds. I think it's really stupid. But we'll get into it anyway.
The only other thing that wasn't mentioned, or if it was mentioned, I missed it, is that Trollenberg's whole thing is that he is creating an army of hybrid soldiers that are part Terminator, part Xenomorph.
Yeah.
And that is the reason Call wanted Ripley on the mission to begin with, because she's like, the military is doing experiments with xenomorphs again, just like they did with you. And Ripley's like, son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yes. And these Terminator hybrids can somehow absorb inorganic material.
They can. I just chalked it up to it's this version's like how a robot would use effectively the xenomorph DNA reflex, how like they absorb part of whatever creature they're in. Well, they can just do that, but like at will now, because they're cool super soldier robots.
Yeah, and I speculated this is kind of a twist on the T-1000, being able to sort of mimic things around it and sort of tactile like interface with things, like he could in Terminator 2, even though that wasn't really explained because some of those scenes got deleted.
Also, this may have been said when the Predators capture Ripley, they specifically show up and only capture her after they discover that she has acidic blood. So that is seemingly the reason they wanted her to begin with.
Yes. And the Alpha Terminator Xenomorph hybrid makes a second one, and they fly off to another military ship, and they're like, hey, we need to go to this other location.
I gotta say, man, it was insanely annoying to me how he's like kind of the main bad guy of the comic, and they never give him a name. So I just had to keep calling him in my notes like the blonde crew cut hybrid now that there's two of them.
Sure, yeah.
It was very annoying to me that they never gave that guy a name to refer to him as.
Well, he's not a crypto term. That was Dr. Trollenberg.
They eventually call him the Alpha Hybrid, but that's like 8 pages away from the end of the 4th issue is the first time he's referred to as that.
It's more like a Sigma, am I right, guys? Okay.
Got him.
All right. I think that's basically it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the gist, yeah.
Yeah. I was not crazy about issues 1 and 2.
You sure weren't. Neither of you were, actually.
No. We got like no xenomorphs, right? We saw like some face huggers or some chest bursters or something in Trollenberg's lab.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. We saw like one Predator get his arm ripped off by the hybrid Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of them show up and grab Ripley and bounce. And that was kind of it. We didn't see like a Terminator. We saw this weird Terminator hybrid that is just like this gigantic dude that doesn't really feel Terminator-y to me.
I think the only proper Terminator in the entire comic is Trollenberg.
Right. And even he's kind of a twist on the standard model, which is fine. I'm all for variations, right? But the hybrid variation, it's just wasn't working for me. So the first 2 issues left me wanting, basically. It was like you have 3 properties that I enjoy, and I feel like you're not utilizing any of them to their proper potential. And Call doesn't really feel like Call, I guess, but Ripley especially doesn't feel like Ripley, and especially and doesn't even feel like Ripley 8. You know, it just really left me kind of like, what the fuck is this?
It was mostly just, to me, confusing about like why they needed to be Terminator alien hybrids. Like, I felt like there had to be something they could do with just straight up Skynet Terminators.
Yes.
Also, I'm very interested in how they're able to hybridize a robot and organic creature. Like, is it just like they took a xenomorph and then put a bunch of cybernetics on it, or so? Like, you can't hybridize things that are two things together when they're not both biological in origin. Like, how does that work? They never explain how that's done, but it's apparently a surgical procedure.
But that's what you're forgetting, is that Terminators are biological.
I do not remember them being biological. I thought they had like the biological like skin over them, but they were still mechanical underneath.
Just the skeleton it's living tissue. It's fully living tissue over like the skeleton and everything. So they have like a functioning nerve system and everything.
Yes, I did apparently forget that.
Yeah. So they're basically like the same way that Ripley's like has, you know, human muscle and everything. She's just a lot stronger. Her muscles are stronger because of the xenomorph. They're basically adding that strength into the Terminators. So their muscles are like extra strong. Plus they've got the robot skeleton. It does feel like putting a hat on a hat a little bit.
Also, they don't look like xenomorphs at all. They just look human still. So
they don't. They just
kind of confusing there.
Like once the human skin comes off of them, they look like the Hulk when he was gray in the first 2 issues.
Yeah, well, the ones at the end of this, I don't even think they ever had human skin. They just like popped out that way somehow. I don't even fucking know what to make of those things. Let's get into it. All right, let's get into issue 3. Let's talk about this cover, because this cover rules.
Cover's very good. It's Ripley in front of Ripley in. I'm gonna say it. This isn't not in a disparaging way. She's doing like Native American appropriation of it.
Okay. I was reading it more as she's kind of in a version of her Alien Resurrection outfit, but I know what you're talking about. The more in the interior art she's appropriating.
I think that's what they're going for, though, right?
I think so.
Like she's wearing it's like the off the shoulder kind of like
you're right,
loincloth adjacent kind of look, and then further into the episode, further into the issue, she's like has face paint on and stuff.
Yes, you're correct. Yeah.
Anyway, she's standing in like a hallway holding a big gun and a severed Terminator head in front of a whole bunch of predators that are like waving weapons around.
It's pretty dope.
The severed Terminator head looks cool.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and it's giving me Terminator stuff that I'm not getting in the actual book.
And she's got a gun, which she doesn't have anywhere in the comic.
Also correct, yes.
So this just opens with the whole on the Carthage. That is Anna Lee calls in her cruise ship, right?
The bubble ship.
Yeah, the bubble ship. And there's like, what the fuck?
There's she has 2 crew members remaining. Mm-hmm. All of the rest of them got killed during the fight with Trollenberg.
Yeah. We got long blonde haired guy,
Vorman,
and then we got bald guy.
Blades. His name is Blades, yes.
Was this 2001, wasn't it?
I think it might have been 2000, but yes.
Okay.
His name is Blades, so...
They're like, what the fuck? Where did Ripley go? And they're like, they took her. The crab things took her. I don't like that they keep calling him crab face.
I really don't like it. Especially later. Like, we'll get into it, but especially later, it's...
anything else, right?
Ripley, like... subconsciously taps into like their like collective hive mind
Yeah,
while she's aboard the ship and still calls them crab faces.
it's just probably
Like-
'cause she's probably subconscious about how to pronounce Yautja properly. So she's like, I'm just gonna call them crab faces.
Yeah, she knows all of their motives and like, everything about, what the situation is except for how they refer to themselves.
Yes, or how anything else refers to them out there either. Right, like,
But yeah, the three of them talk for a while about how they're lamenting how Ripley got taken. And then we cut to Ripley, and she's also lamenting how she got taken. And then she gets taken again, led into some kind of like experiment lab room or whatever.
it is very funny how like I like, first of all, I like that she sees this sort of trophy room of like xenomorph corpses and sort of heads mounted on the walls. That's the first time we kind of start seeing xenomorphs in this book. I was happy about that. And then I was kind of happy to see some predators finally
Spreading it up.
started taking their masks and armor off, because we talked a little bit last time about how the art in this, I do think the art is pretty good, but everything's kind of too smooth and rounded.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit.
It's very 90s.
It is, yes.
A lot of internal monologuing from Ripley in this section, but I like how she like tries to like fend off the predator, and then it just cuts to a scene of him just carrying her over his shoulder.
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh Jesus Christ, I can't believe this is absurd. But yeah, then they're going to start doing experiments on her, and she is not happy about that.
And then it cuts from there to the Navy ship Euphrates, which is where the two hybrids flew their pod to at the end of the last issue.
Yes.
And they've basically been confined to their pods because like the general that oversees the ship doesn't trust or like them and doesn't want them wandering around the ship. Neil, like you mentioned, they have requested travel to a specific place.
Yes.
And then we get word back from here that they have been denied the ability to travel there. So the hybrids climb back onto their pod and then drive the pod directly into the bridge of the ship, exploding it and killing a bunch of people. And then they take over the ship and fly it away themselves.
This I liked. This felt very Terminator, like Terminator 1. When the Terminator goes into the police station trying to get to Sarah Connor, right? And they're like, we can't let you in. She's being questioned. And he's like, I just want to talk to her or whatever. They try the infiltration first, right? Like they try to negotiate their way in. It doesn't work. So he leaves and he crashes the car in and then just like starts shooting his way in to get to her. This felt very Terminator to me, where they're trying to negotiate their way in. It doesn't work. So they're just like, okay, fly the ship in and then get out with their big guns and just start shooting away,
And later on in this same issue, they will do this same maneuver again.
Yeah. And it rules. This is when I felt like, okay, they're doing some Terminator stuff. I can get on board, except they keep touching things and absorbing them to like open doors or whatever. And it feels kind of shoehorned in, and I don't understand it.
For the record, they're going to what is referred to as a level 4 asteroid called Los Alamos 235, which, spoiler alert, which is where the climax of this series takes place. And so all three of these groups that we're following will all converge on this one location later.
Conveniently.
Yeah. We cut back to Ripley after she's gotten whatever like surgery or experimentation the predators were doing to her. And she's led to the bridge of the ship that she's on, where they point, they show her like an asteroid on the viewfinder, which, by the way, spoiler alert, is Los Alamos 235. And she has kind of a flash realizing that she's like been there before in like her like genetic ancestral memories.
Yeah.
And
this doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know what that meant either.
I assumed it was how she like senses where the aliens are in Resurrection. I assumed it was that sort of thing where like she knows that there are xenomorphs there.
And she can like sense them or whatever. Yeah.
But like this is the thing that when she was put under by the predators and she has this fever dream where she also sees Terminators for some reason.
She does, yes.
Like, this is the memory that they pulled out of her. But like the xenomorph that's inside her, that was inside her, was the queen that she picked up on LV-426.
Mm-hmm.
Is this implying that I don't know. It's almost like this is implying that the xenomorphs on the derelict are from this meteor.
Yeah, I don't know.
The genetic line would have to trace back that directly for her to have a genetic link to it, you know?
I didn't really think that hard about it. I just kind of glossed over it and went, oh yeah, she probably just like senses the other xenomorphs that are there or whatever, and just didn't think about it too hard because there's already so much other stuff also happening at the same time. I just kind of rolled with it and didn't really think about it.
But she said specifically, I've been there. Some part of me has been there, and I don't.
Well, okay. Also, in that in that cell, it's like there are two cells next to each other. Like the actual art on the page.
Okay.
And they're the same frame.
Yeah.
One is just her like straight on face,
right,
with dialogue. And then the I've been there, or we I've been there. Some part of me has been there. And then it's like over kind of like a
like the xenomorph.
Yeah. It's like it's the same image of her face, but there's like a little faint, like stylized image of a xenomorph drawn over her face, kind of.
Right. Yeah.
So I just assumed it was like she can sense that they're there, like she is part of the alien hive mind at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just always the hive mind thing just seems a lot more localized to me, not like across the universe. But
well, I mean,
once we see the thing, it's basically just cold storage for xenomorph specimens.
Yeah, and the other thing of it is this comic makes a lot of big swings about like how canon works. So
for 3 different franchises.
So I have to assume that like for this comic and this comic alone, that's how the hive mind works. But that doesn't mean it works like that for any of the other times it's shown up. You know,
there was a second there where I was like, wait. Is this a reference to Original Sin? It's not. It's not a reference to Original Sin.
I don't think Original Sin had been made yet. So
Original Sin's much later.
So anyway, no dice. We're not going to make sense of this. It didn't sit right with me, but
it just kind of doesn't actually make sense if you think about it for more than like a second or two. But it's fine.
I'll just add to the long list of things in this 4-issue book series that didn't make sense to me.
But like I said, the asteroid the Predators are pointing her to is Los Alamos 235, and we cut back to the 2 hybrids who have taken over the Euphrates, and how I mentioned earlier that they pull that move a second time. Well, here is the second time. They go into the docking bay, and right as they're about to dock, they just say, fuck it, full speed ahead, and just drive directly into the command center of the docking bay, causing a chain reaction explosion that lets them get onto a Los Alamos 235 and basically take the entire place over.
Yeah, I loved this too, because they're just going through the docking motions, imitating the captain of the ship and everything, till they get to the point where they have to like, actually latch on to the docking bay arm, and then at that point the Alpha's like, fuck it, and just guns it. They just keep going and just charge into the ship. It's just solid Terminator work there.
Am I lost on what their like overall motive is?
These guys?
Yeah. They're trying to create more of them, right?
Yes, they are.
Using the alien DNA.
Using the aliens in cold storage aboard the asteroid, yes.
Okay. Yes. So that's what I thought, but it seems like they're being very careless with like damaging this space station.
That's because they are.
Mm-hmm. They are. Yeah.
There was a period there at the end of that sentence. They are being very careless, but that is still their plan. Yes.
Yeah, I think that theoretically there's safety airlocks and things like that in place. They just have to gain entrance to it, and then they can the safety
Yeah, and the other thing of it is remember, they don't need to like breathe or anything, so
Right.
they're not really going to care if there's like huge holes in the ship or whatever. Not only because they can't breathe, but their absorption ability will presumably let them close up those holes, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can only absorb stuff or if they can also put stuff out as well. I don't know. But,
yeah, we see him making a lot of holes. We don't see him closing a lot of holes, but I guess they must, right?
But after they basically take over the asteroid, it cuts back to Ripley, and then in reference to the Native American appropriation that Bob called out earlier, she kind of has like a vague Native American looking garb because she's like being welcomed into the Predator ranks. They're like having her join their tribe. So she has on like the leathers and the face paint and everything.
They're throwing blood at her. And
yep. And then
kind of very sick. There's like chained up dead xenomorph bodies behind her on this.
That's wild.
Yeah, and they're all raising weapons and giving her a spear weapon and stuff.
And yeah, she ends up, I don't remember if this is when she gets it, but in issue 4, she has a weapon that's basically, imagine the Buster Sword at the end of a really long stick.
Yes, that's what she's getting at the end of this. It's more axe-like in this issue. It does look a little different than the next one.
So what happened for them to make this turn where they're like welcoming her? Because at first they're like experimenting on her. They find out she's part xenomorph, and then instead of them being like, "Oh, well, we kill these guys," she's like,
during this scene where we see her get welcomed into their ranks, she has like a voiceover monologue that's all about like evil and monsters and like how the predators recognize, well, she doesn't know them as predators, of course, but how these people that she's with recognize that like the threat that these Terminators are giving. And like, you know, somehow they're, I guess, able to know that even though she's part alien, she's against them. And so they're like, oh, if you help us with this, we will give you the pride and the honor that we're assuming you seek. And she's like, yeah, sure, I guess.
So they took her knowing this in advance.
Yeah, they saw her get cut. The Predator who got his arm sliced off in issue 1 or 2 or whatever, saw her get cut and saw her acid blood. And then when he got sucked out of the airlock, I guess his buddies, I forget if he survived or not. I don't really care to try to find out.
It doesn't actually matter.
She was kind of a little bitch.
Okay.
But somehow his buddies got word that she was a hybrid. And so they decided that because she's a hybrid, she's got a connection to him, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, like
Terminators are a bigger threat.
Yeah, in the beginning of this issue, the issue actually starts off with Call and the two people she's with, Vorman and Blades. Call is Call is theorizing why the Predators probably took her, and her guess is effectively they know that she is a hybrid, and so they can use her like hive mind sense to track down the aliens and kill them.
Yeah.
And since the reasoning never comes up again, we're supposed to just assume that Call's theory is the correct explanation.
I think that was what confused me, because that made it seem like they were just going to use her as like a tracker, and then now she's like partying with them on the ship now.
Well, the Dark Horse, at least the Alien versus Predator books, have a history, like back to like the first series, I think, for Hayden's first series, of like selecting a human to join the Predator tribe in their battle against the aliens for some reason.
Oh, okay. I've never read those.
They tend to like to make the Predators the good guys.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know why the Predators thought that because she is genetically part xenomorph, that must mean she wants to fight them. Anyone that doesn't know what her story is would assume that if she's part alien, that probably means she's like sympathetic to them. Yeah. But for whatever reason, they arrive at the correct assumption that she also wants to kill them, and so they're like, hey, if you help us out with this, you'll be able to kill him. And she's like, I'm in.
The xenomorphs are kind of like the absolute evil, and the Predators are sort of seen as kind of like the, Well, they're kind of honorable, and they're
Yeah,
not
like you said, they kind of turned the Predators into the good guys, and they very explicitly are in AVP 1. They are very explicitly the good guy protagonist, nice aliens that fight the xenomorphs.
Yeah. So I think they're just this time they're just she's the Bond girl for the Predators.
And this issue ends with the two hybrids have fully taken over the station, and they head into a storage area, and there's just dozens, like all the walls are lined with xenomorphs in cryo tubes, and the two hybrids are like, ooh, baby, and that's how the issue ends.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more on board at the end of issue 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I got to see some. I'm sorry, I keep saying it. I got to see some Terminators do some Terminator shit finally.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I famously was the only guy that liked the first 2 issues on our episode. Both of you guys didn't really like it that much. I will admit I was actually cooler on issue 3 this time around, because all of this felt just like moving pieces around and doing setup, and it felt like it was all plot, and so therefore it kind of felt like not really much was happening really.
There was a lot of
it was a lot of standing around talking, a lot of monologuing and voiceover, a lot of moving pieces into place to get to where they want to go, or to have them be for the 4th issue. Not a whole lot really happened. It was just plot, and that was about it.
The 4th issue is where it turned around for me, because it went from I'm annoyed that they're leaving a lot of like plot holes wide open or what have you, and then the 4th issue I was like, oh, they're just smashing action figures together in a sandbox.
They sure are.
Yeah, they're about to.
Well, let's get into it then, unless anyone else has anything to say about issue 3.
No, I will say issue 3 made me appreciate issues 1 and 2 a little better, because issue 3 had so much inner Ripley monologue that kind of bugged the shit out of me.
Yeah.
When I went back and reread issues 1 and 2, I actually really appreciated the conversations between her and Call about her life and like her fate, and talking about how the military had like taken away her, like they wouldn't even let her die and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. I actually appreciated that in hindsight, because it was just much more nuanced and expressed much better than the way Ripley was written in issue 3 and the way she's about to be written in issue 4. So it actually made me appreciate the first 2 issues better, and made that Ripley feel more like the character, even though it still doesn't feel much like her to me.
Bob, you got anything else you want to say about issue 3, or are we good to move on?
Let's move on.
All right. Who wants to talk about the cover of issue 4?
Dude.
I do.
I think all of us do, because it is sick as hell.
It's so fucking cool. It's like a Voivod album cover.
Did you say sick as hell? More like future hell.
Oh, got him. Fuck. I cannot believe I missed that. Fuck.
Man. It's a fucking Terminator being swarmed by xenomorphs, guys.
It is a hybrid xenomorph Terminator, because you can see part of like the tubing and the piping on the shoulders, and also it has a bunch of really sharp teeth, but it is like a close-up of like chest up of the Terminator, pivoted forwards in like an action fight pose, while it's getting swarmed from all over by xenomorphs, and it's just like, ah!
And you can see, and like, xenomorphs are actually coming, because we saw the cold storage in the last issue. So finally, like, we're actually going to get some xenomorphs in this series.
It's fucking sick.
The cover's writing a check that I hope the interior can cash.
Yeah, it covers fucking sick as hell. It rules.
There's jaws everywhere. This cover is pretty rad.
The colors are just like that, like purple with the yellow background. It's really sick.
Just the deep red Terminator eyes. Yeah, this cover's awesome.
All right, we start off with Call and what's up?
We start off with the fucking Navy or the military doing the dumbest thing in the world.
Well, they're okay. To be fair, they're actually not doing anything. Turns out this was an accident, but it starts off with Call and them, who, by the way, to remind everyone, the other two are Vorman and Blades. Every time I mention Blades, I get a laugh from you guys, so I'm trying to shoehorn it in as often as possible. But anyway, they arrive at 2:35, and there is a whole armada of Navy ships around the asteroid, and pretty much as soon as they get there, this giant electrical cannon shoots out this beam that blows up the entire armada, but somehow does not blow them up. But don't worry about it.
They were just far enough away, apparently. They were just late enough to the party.
And then we were like, oh shit, like, you know, it must be those hybrids. They've completely taken over the station and have like figured out how to turn on the cannon. No, that's not what's happening. What's happening is that that cannon was set off accidentally by the Predators with Ripley trying to sneak in. The Predators...
They set it off on purpose.
Well, what they did was they knew that if they tried to dock, the hybrids would know they were there. So they purposely set off like the perimeter alarm, which would cause a chain reaction that would make that specific component discharge, which would suck all of the electricity out of the rest of the station, letting them dock without triggering the sensors.
Yeah, I don't know what's confusing about that.
The cannon going off wasn't on purpose, but it was the end result of a chain reaction that was set on purpose, but it wasn't set off by the Navy. It was set off by the Predators.
I'll tell you, one thing I don't like about this book is how it keeps changing the way it tells. Like, we're now going to go like just deeply into Ripley's first person perspective, complete with like a time jump where we're jumping way ahead in the story to a point where she's like about to basically feels like she's about to die at the hands of just this mutant hybrid.
Yeah, we see the go ahead.
It's just messy and sloppy. Let's not try to like follow that, you know, let's just tell a story linearly instead of trying to loop back like this. But it's just we're told after the fact in slight flashback that that's how the Predators got in, but it's told in slight flashback because the then present is Ripley having already gone onto the ship with a squad of Predators, and almost all of them have been killed, and it's her and one Predator that are left. And actually, sorry, I skipped the one other part. The two hybrids have already created dozens more hybrids, and there's a wide shot of, I counted, there's literally 17 of them just kind of standing around in this room. But yeah, they've already created a whole like army of new hybrid guys. They all look like Venoms, right?
Yep, they do. That's correct.
They don't really have any skin, you know. They're just these organic. I don't even think they have any like android parts in them. I think they're just these organic things, like completely.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they basically seem to be xenomorphs, but with the form factor of a huge human.
Right, because she's like cutting off limbs like wholesale.
Yeah,
you know, and they're just bleeding out here.
But yeah, this is when we find out that Ripley has snuck in. Almost all the Predators have been killed. The one Predator that she's with sacrifices himself to clear a path into the lab for her. And then she goes into the lab. And also, this entire time we've been seeing Ripley, more voiceover monologue.
I will say there's a few Predators left, because when she does the thing, there's a few.
Well, true, but we don't find that out until they suddenly appear later on. At this point, Ripley's like, I'm with this one guy and he just died. She even says in her monologue something to the effect of, I'm the only one left.
Like my crab face, she calls him.
And as far as she is aware, there aren't any others left, although turns out there are a couple of more that pop up when the narrative needs them to.
The look my dying crab face gave me also said that everything was up to me. Guys, do you think they were dating?
Yeah, see, everything was up to her. So as far as she knows, she's the only one left.
Also, she really puts herself at the center of this story, doesn't she?
She sure does. It's all about her, baby. And she gets to the lab talking about how she only has one last card left to play. And that card is she pulls down a big lever and it opens up all the tubes and she releases all of the xenomorphs.
Hell yeah, here we fucking go.
Which I saw that and I was like, oh, hell yes.
Yeah.
What if she's already got the face paint.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
She's got some costuming kind of mimicking the Predators also.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What if, like a week-long vacation in the Bahamas, she came back on the ship with Predator dreadlocks?
Okay. All right.
All right.
Is that
the dreaded Ripley 8.
Maybe Mel Ruby just couldn't draw it.
He tried box braids and couldn't pull that off either. Didn't know what to do.
But these xenomorphs show up and just fucking destroy all of these hybrid army guys.
Yeah.
Just completely tears them apart, fucking kills basically all of them until there's just like a couple xenomorphs left. And then suddenly a couple of more predators that are still alive that we didn't know about come out of nowhere and engage those last couple of xenos in a fight while Ripley chases after the alpha hybrid that she sees walking by and going, oh no, I failed. Time to jet.
Yeah, this scene kind of rules when the xenomorphs get unleashed and they're just going at it with the hybrids, and then the predators just open fire into the crowd of both, just putting down everyone. And then, like you said, the alpha runs around a corner. Ripley goes to chase after it. She sees something else coming around the corner, and she almost impales Call. Like she almost slices through Call with her giant buster sword.
Mm-hmm.
This page was important for me because this is where the whole series turned around, and I was on board for it.
Right here.
Oh,
because
this scene where all the xenomorphs finally show up?
No, where she almost kills Call.
Okay, I got you.
And there is a line in here where they're like, Call's like, Ripley, I didn't recognize you, but you're alive. What? How? And Ripley says, no time, Call. There's no time for questions, which was like a huge wink to the audience of like, none of this really matters. We're just smashing action figures together.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And at that point, I was like, oh, okay, I'm on board with all of this. This is just for fun.
Notice, listeners, we didn't talk about how Call and her crew knew to come to this top secret asteroid. I don't remember how they got the information.
I actually can answer that question.
There's no Kenny. There's no time. Let's move on.
No time.
I actually can answer that question. The question is, or the answer rather, is that Call was like, well, Ripley's been taken by the Predators, and we don't know where they're going or why, and we have no leads and no idea where they're trying to go. But separately and unrelated to and unconnected to all of that, back when I got some military intelligence, guys remember when I got military intelligence?
That's right.
I remember this level 4 black ops asteroid called Los Alamos 235. Maybe we can go there and find out more information. And I'm like, oh, so you guys just didn't have a way to have her get this info. Okay, got it.
This must have been before she burned her modem.
Yeah.
I believe she actually did say it was from before she went rogue. So yes, it literally was before she burned her modem.
So they didn't. Nobody cared. They were just
nobody cared. They were like, all right, we kind of rode ourselves into a corner because what are they going to do? Like follow the Predator ship? It's like camouflaged.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's just already have her have the information, I guess.
Yeah. Ripley couldn't have a tracking device in her or something. Who the fuck?
Yeah,
There's
it
no
doesn't matter.
time for questions.
Yep.
That just hit so hard after like 6 pages of just internal monologue where they're just giving so much exposition, and then she's like, "All right, we're done with all that."
Yeah,
shit.
we don't have time for this. Don't worry about it.
There's
But
no time for questions. Let's talk for a page and a half.
But yeah, Call and Vorman bump into her, and she immediately is like, "You guys need to get out of here, like right now." And Call's like, okay. And so they just turn around and go back the way they came, and they leave. Ripley continues to track down the Alpha, and then Call and Vorman make it back onto the ship, and the three of them take off just as the entire asteroid starts to explode.
Yes. Before you go on, I hated how they blurred the panels showing the ship breaking up.
Yeah, I hated that too. I definitely thought it was like a misprint on the version of it I was looking at. I did not know it was supposed to be there on purpose.
No, I'm holding a paper copy here. They did that. That was someone was thinking they were being clever using Photoshop.
Yeah, it did not look like it was shaking. It just looked out of focus.
And I do like that in all of this, Call is like has this guilt about dragging Ripley back out here, and Ripley's like, no, thank you for bringing me back out. I had to face all this stuff. I have to end this, whatever. Mm-hmm. Right. And Call is like really dealing with this guilt and doesn't want to leave her here, to the point where we see as Vorman has dragged her back on their ship, he's got her like physically strapped in as Call is still like losing it. And she's like, I forced her back out here, just like really dealing with, the fact that she dragged her back out here when she didn't want to go. I think that that's interesting for the character, because we've seen all of this stuff from Call about how she's just programmed to do these things. She's programmed to organize, the way she manipulated Ripley to bring her on this anyway by saying she was going to send her location to the military if she didn't cooperate, all of this stuff. And now she's like kind of, dealing with the actual consequences of her actions for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
she is regretting it, and she comes to regret it even more here in a few pages.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, Call and them, their ship takes off and they escape just before everything starts to collapse. Ripley, I even wrote here in my notes, Ripley goes big chap mode and stashes herself on the hybrid's pod.
I thought that was a fun little twist.
I was kind of into this too.
Yeah, she has, again, a voiceover monologue talking about how, like, in the deep recesses of her memory, she recalls these events, but she's pretty sure that the roles were reversed and she was the one hiding from a different creature hiding in the walls. And she's like, but now I'm the madman, bitch.
I tell you, I liked this. I realized what they were doing immediately. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not patting myself on the back. I noticed what they were doing immediately when she's poking her head out from there in that third panel on the page.
Yeah.
As soon as they pointed it out, I was like, come on, guys, like, don't point it out.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to go well. Like, I don't know.
Everyone reading this comic would immediately get the reference. You don't need to go, look at this reference we're making. Yeah. We all already figured it out. It's fine.
The other thing that pointing it out and making you think specifically of the Narcissus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that she's painted up. So it's also making you think of the Predator stalking someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's also making you think a little bit of when Arnold is painted up with the mud and everything at the end of Predator, and he's with the knife and he's also stalking. It's got like it's like a layered like reference of multiple franchises in here, but as soon as they call it back to just one, it kind of loses that extra. Like for a Predator fan looking at this, they're going to see like the Predator reference specifically. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just like it better just being a visual reference as opposed to something that the plot has to point out. I think my least favorite part of this is all of the internal Ripley monologuing.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of it. That's for sure.
God, there's so fucking much.
But yeah, like I said, she hides away on the Alpha Hybrid's pod as it's flying away, and she jumps out to try to kill him, but he detects her in time and basically knocks her against a wall. And she's like, "All right, you want to play that game? Let's play that game." And she pulls out a big knife and slices her arm open, and then pours her acid blood all over the controls of the pod. And then the Alpha's like, "Oh shit!" And then the pod explodes, and they both die.
really fast there.
Yeah, that's it. It just she cuts her arm open, and then within a page, the pod is already exploded, and then it cuts back to Call's ship, and she even harder laments bringing Ripley into this because they saw the explosion, and Call, capital J, capital K, just knew that it was Ripley sacrificing herself to kill the Alpha, and Call's like, "Oh, I can't believe I brought her into this. I hope she's been able to find some sort of peace," and then the three of them fly away into the stars, and then we get told the end.
She also knows that the door is definitely closed on Skynet returning because they took out that one Terminator, the one crypto Terminator, Dr. Zhivago or whatever his name is.
I think it's because during the John Connor virus monologue, I think they said that Trollenberg was the only one that was still active. And so by killing him and destroying all of the hybrids he created, Skynet's not able to come back. I think I'm not saying that's a good reason. I'm saying I believe that is the justification the comic gives for Call being able to say, Skynet's done for.
All right, that's fine. It's good enough for me. All right.
Yeah, the comic is over, and it's not like we're ever going to get a sequel, so it doesn't fucking matter now. But
what a whimper this thing is for blowing up Ripley 8. This didn't end with a bang, did it?
I don't want to say I was impressed because I wasn't impressed. I was fine with the ending of it. I will say I did not like how it was presented to us in the comic, because the explosion we see it from the Alpha's perspective when he's looking out the window at the thing starting to explode. So we just see a blur of orange and white surrounded by a window, and then it cuts to Call's ship, and they're like, "What was that explosion we just heard?" And Call's like, "Oh, that was Ripley." So we never actually even see it blow up to begin with.
Ripley's dead. What are you gonna do?
But I will say, I was legitimately surprised that this comic ended with them killing Ripley. I genuinely did not see that coming.
Usually when there's a crossover kind of thing, they don't make heavy, canon decisions like that.
Yeah. I thought that was a wild choice, and honestly, I kind of respect it.
Yeah. I didn't really see it coming either, but I mean, are there a whole lot of interesting Ripley 8 stories out there to tell? Honestly,
as we found out, not really.
Yeah, well, we've been going through all of them, so you tell me, have there been?
I think we've now read both of them, and the answer is no. In the past the movie, which arguably wasn't a very interesting story either. So,
to my understanding, I believe there is only one other alien thing that takes place in the resurrection section of time.
Yeah.
And so as far as I know, other than that one novel, we've seen all of them. So yeah. I guess we can answer pretty definitively.
Yeah.
I wish they had done more of the book 4 stuff throughout, because it felt like they did a lot of exposition, a lot of plot building, and then the climax was in 4 pages of the last issue.
Yeah.
I wanted more fun stuff in between.
They did too much trying to explain what Terminator was and how it could exist in this future.
Yeah.
They didn't do, I guess a lot of that Ripley dialogue was her trying to explain why the Predators are involved and care about any of this stuff. It didn't do a lot of explaining who they were or what they were about, right? But just trying to explain their involvement. And I don't think that in 4 issues you needed that much of any of this stuff. It could have just been more of like you said, smashing your action figures together. It could have been way thinner on plot.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's my big thing. There is way, way more than 4 issues of plot in this miniseries. They could have cut the amount of plot down by like at least 60%, and it would have been fine. It wouldn't have really made a difference.
my like the knee jerk reaction is this should have taken place on Earth in the post Judgment Day kind of timeline.
Oh yeah.
But maybe they thought that was too obvious and were like, oh, we need to do something
Right.
different or weirder.
How do we explain xenomorphs on Earth back then, right?
Yeah. Resurrection just came out 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
We have to make it a sequel to that. But let's not do anything interesting with the super advanced auton synthetics we came up with for that movie. Here's
Also, go ahead.
just a pitch, right? Synthetics, again, I don't want to do the thing where like, well, they should have made the story about this specifically because this is the story that we got. But I don't know, like maybe, yeah, Skynet's still out there in some form, right? It's an artificial intelligence, right? It's not that hard to believe that like it gets access somewhere in a Terminator factory, gets started on some colony out somewhere as like a secret project and gets out of hand. And then there's Terminators out there, and then there's Predators, and there's aliens. You don't need you don't need to like tie it back to Judgment Day and all of this shit, right? Like,
Sure.
You can just have Terminators and aliens and Predators in the future. You just can.
Because
I'd like are a part of the future already.
That's true. It's true. I'd also like to point out that now that I've read this entire comic, this comic should have been called Aliens vs. Terminator, and also each issue has a cameo by a Predator in it.
I think it should have been
because the Predators aren't really involved in the plot of this comic. The comic is extremely what if Terminators and Xenomorphs fought, but also we need to put a Predator in here somewhere.
Yeah, but only in the 4th issue do they fight. So it should have been called Aliens Terminators versus Aliens and Predator at the end.
A much better name. You're correct.
Hey Bob, what do you think it should be called?
I think it should be called Alien Resurrection : Judgment Day : Cold Day in Hell.
Oh shit.
Future hell.
A cold day in future hell with Ripley and company. What else in these covers?
Featuring Predator? ?
Monster versus machine.
So, what did everyone actually like think as far as like a review, like a rating, everything? Let's just finish up talking about it. What did everyone think about it? You can talk about these 2 issues, or you can talk about the entire mini series as a whole. Whatever.
I read the whole thing today, so I'm going to get this out of the way. As much shit as I've been talking about this thing and how I'm bringing to that my sort of unfair expectations about what I specifically would want from a crossover between these 3 franchises that for a time in 9th and 10th grade was the only thing that I talked to people about in class,
Yeah.
So that's pretty unfair. I have pretty unfair expectations for these, right? Mm-hmm. As for what they presented and actually gave us, I'm fine with these. They were fine. Issue 4 was fun to read when the action got going. Issue 3 gave me some fun. Terminators doing Terminator stuff. I don't like that it had to be connected to Alien Resurrection and we had to make it a Ripley story. Because when people try to make things Ripley stories, most of the time they don't do a very good job of it. Mm-hmm. And that's just sort of across all Alien media, right? Like I can think of
for sure
2 to 3 exceptions, and those are the first 3 movies, right? So I don't know. This was fine. 5 out of 10.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Bob, how about you?
Like I was saying, I think the 4th issue, I kind of came around on it. I enjoyed it a little more as a whole. Just kind of like, I think that's when it hit its stride and I understood the vibe of it. I think was kind of expecting a little more, like, especially with the newer Marvel stuff, I was expecting more of like a sophisticated kind of story.
Yeah.
And this is very just dumb,
It sure
but
is.
dumb on purpose, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just weren't doing those kinds of crossovers in the 2000s. I can't think of a single one, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could have been in like an editorial position and like seen this as a draft, there's a lot of changes I would have made, but as this being the finished product, I think it's fine. I wouldn't be if I was 12 years old at the time and getting these every week, I wouldn't be bummed. But they're definitely not good.
Yeah. Okay.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think I'm out of 5 out of 10 also.
As I said on the previous episode, I did like the first 2 issues more than you guys did. I probably liked these 2 issues about the same as you guys did. Okay. And so on average, I guess that would make my feeling about it a little bit higher than your guys's. I'd probably say like a 6, maybe a 6.5 at best.
Okay.
But the thing of it is part of the reason I kept on harping on like how insane and convoluted the plot was and how they didn't need to do all that was because I kind of admire the fact that they did make it needlessly complicated. Like you guys said, they could just have xenomorphs and Terminators and Predators fighting. They didn't need to come up with like an entire issue's worth of backstory and explanation as to why. But I kind of respect the fact that they did, because they were really like, you have a series where like, AVP was already a thing that exists. Right. And they were like, let's go all out, balls to the wall. Well, we want to, as opposed to doing like a minimalist thing, we want to go full maximalist. Let's take those 2 and also have them fight Terminators. We're going to go all out. We're going to turn the dial up to 11. And so that means the artwork has to be 90s as shit. That means there has to be monologues all over the place. Mm-hmm. That means the color, the design has to be insane. The plot has to be needlessly complicated. Everything, all of the dials for all of it were just turned all the way up. And so I thought it was fun because, Bob, like you said, it was just supposed to be a bunch of mindless, dumb stuff that we're supposed to just go, oh, this is fun while we're reading it and not even think about it at all. The plot's complicated enough that you can't really think about it for more than a couple of seconds before you start to immediately notice huge, obvious plot holes, because it's not intended to be thought about for more than the length of time it takes for you to read the explanation. The comic was just like holding on to the very edge of the rocket as it was blasting through space. And so I had a great time reading it because I was just like, all of this is just mindless, dumb fun. But unlike you guys, I was able to pick that up from the very beginning, which is why I enjoyed it all the way through. That being said, also it sucks, which is why it only got a 6.5.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't enough fun from the beginning for me.
That's fair.
To get me on board. You know what I mean? That's
fair. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
But it just, I mean, we're not going to negotiate a 5 versus a 6.5. The scores are virtually the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to the low end of not bad.
I don't feel like I wasted my time reading it. I don't feel bad that this is in my collection. I feel slightly bad knowing what I spent to get it in my collection.
But also, it's unlikely I'm ever going to read it again.
Yeah. But it is a fun novelty to own. And
I had fun with it.
And to the point of like, it didn't need to have this much plot. I don't know how you get 4 full issues out of just making these things fight each other. You got to have some characters in there and some kind of a human element of, you got to have some kind of a story in there. I do just wish it had been a different story than the one we got, a different connective story. I don't know, because this one went from trying to make too much sense and make things connect too well to then just giving up and not caring at all. Right.
It sure did.
Very quickly. Like,
that's correct.
It was really, really doing the work of trying to make everything make sense and make it all connect. And then suddenly there's no time for questions.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything else to say about it.
I think I'm good. How about you, Bob?
I'm good. I'm good. Nothing else really to
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah. I think now of days, I mean, at the time it was aimed at, kids
Sure.
when it was written. And nowadays, that same content is aimed at those same people who were kids then.
Yeah.
So I think that's why everything feels more like mature and sophisticated now, because it's the same people reading it. We're just old. In their 40s.
We're just old and grown up now. And
Fair.
yeah.
ugh.
So if they were, still doing, if the Marvel run now was aimed at, 12-year-olds,
Right.
I'm sure it would be very stupid plot holes and, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we did it.
We sure did.
We did it.
Bob, thanks for hanging out and doing this.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry to
I love it.
keep you on the hook for so long.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I have fun doing this.
I appreciate your patience with I'll say with me.
What the hell?
Because Kenny's not the one. Kenny's not the one who made this hiatus happen. I am. So
hey, do what you got to do. We're here for it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you both.
And as a case in point, as we're seeing right now, it's not like the show went anywhere, so it's fine.
Yeah. Plug the flock again.
Yeah. Go to www.workatmydadslawfirm.com to listen to episodes of the podcast that I do with my friends.
Yeah.
Or if you like watching things on Twitch, you can go to twitch.tv/respectable street on Friday nights.
I don't know if this is a draw to anyone listening, but I'm pretty much always also there in the chat as well. So
That's
you
true.
can come by and pester me too if that's an added value for you.
You can come yell at Kenny about whatever you want to yell at him
That's
about.
right. And I'll be like, I disagree or whatever.
And I have not been there lately, but sometimes I am there.
That's true.
Also true, yes.
Yeah.
Damn.
I have not been anywhere lately.
Well,
Hey, it's okay.
That's fine.
Being extant isn't a necessity.
That's right.
Sometimes you just gotta.
Sometimes you gotta
disappear.
chill. That's right.
Sometimes you just gotta. Kenny,
That's me.
where can people find you on the internet?
I'm on Twitter still for some reason. I'm on Blue Sky that I keep forgetting to do posts on. I'm also on one or two other things, but those are the main two places. At my handle that I use for everything, at CYHOBBEZ.
Nice. I deleted my Twitter account.
Nice.
Ooh,
Yeah.
good for you.
I'm on Instagram at Final Neil. That's all. Kenny, where can people find the show?
We still have a Twitter account that is at Crew Expendapod. Our Blue Sky is at Crew Expendable. Our Instagram and our threads are both at Crew Expendable Pod. Our website is crewexpendable.net. You can send us an email at mother@crewexpendable.net. And our YouTube page is youtube.com/@crewexpendable.
I do have one other plug. I feel comfortable plugging this. This is far enough out. My other podcast that's been on a more than extended hiatus, MK PodQuest, we are coming back for a limited series, by which I mean 2 to 3 episodes.
Nice.
We're going to cover some Chang-Chi Shaw Brothers movies.
So not Mortal Kombat content.
No,
Got it.
but we are going to cover some things that were definitely inspirations for Mortal Kombat, starting with, I think, 5 Deadly Venoms.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a classic Hong Kong martial arts movie. So mkpodquest.com or MK Podquest in your podcast feed. We'll be doing a handful of those, I think.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, probably around the time this comes out or very soon afterwards.
Nice. Hell yeah.
So go check us out over there. My buddy Corey, who does, they made another one. Go listen to that show too.
Hey, listen to that.
Yeah.
So do I.
Hey, Future Neil popping in here to say thank you to Sarah again for that Terminator-inspired percussion on the intro and outro. And shout out to Tom, art_of_Wamtez for the Coolerbot Terminator artwork. So sick. Follow them, links in the show notes. We will be back. Something.
We actually don't know yet what it's going to be.
No, it's going to be one of 2 things, one of 3 things.
Yeah. So
We'll figure-
in other words, we don't know yet.
Right. So until then,
Come with me if you want to live.